Hikri.
Okay. All right.
She does, it's not really Sephardic, it's more like,
Zach, we're doing Miriam's song.
Okay.
I think it's in A major.
All right, how are you?
good, thank you. I'm glad Miss Tessa is feeling good.
Oh, yeah.
You said she had strep throat, is that what you told me?
That was like 2 weeks ago.
And then she got something else after that.
And then she got an ear infection. And that's why she didn't come last Friday.
Yeah.
She still has a cough, so that's just strep. I'm like, what is it? That,
Strep throat?
no, no.
No.
What's the name of that?
Whooping cough?
No, croup.
Croup, that's right.
And this croup just stays for a long time, like that cough doesn't go away.
Heavy, yeah, thick.
It's not even secretion,
No?
it's just like, the airway, the epiglottis gets swollen.
I have the
Okay.
two there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We're probably already on, right?
Yeah.
Henry, do you know how the last name Knurr is pronounced? Is the K silent? Knurr.
Millions.
Bob. Shabbat shalom.
Where's the beef, so to speak? The beef.
Ah, well, you might ask.
What?
Well, you might ask.
I don't know where they at.
I don't have the answer. If I did, I'd be much more powerful than I am.
Yeah, I mean, we got. We got Gary and Henry here,
I know.
and okay. Yeah.
And the women dancing with their timbrels.
Miriam, what's up with her idea? Purpose where she was, wondrous sound our history. With every thread and every thread and every string, she crafted her to like the woman that she expected.
It's not in our Siddur, obviously.
Which one?
Miriam's song.
It is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think it was.
646.
Ah. Mire. See. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight.
It's time to start.
Es el tiempo para empezar.
See? What time? Oh, okay.
Yep. This one?
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. I don't know if anybody knows this, but there is a fairy princess in the very back row. It's not every night or every service that you have a fairy princess in your very own sanctuary.
That's right.
Do you want to light the candles?
Sure.
You're the only female here. Besides me.
A man could do it too.
Huh?
A man could do it too, no?
Yeah, but it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
There's so much that women can't do that it's nice. Okay. So, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's nice to see you all tonight. Got a small group tonight. I don't know if there's anybody watching from home, but if you are, Shabbat Shalom to you at home as well. We will be beginning our service on page 128 with the singing of Ma Tovu, how wonderful and pleasant it is for us to be sitting together. No, I'm sorry, not Ma Tovu, but Hine Ma Tov. I'm just seeing if you're listening.
This is a test.
It's a test. Thank you, John.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
And we turn back to page 127. At the top of the page, let's alternate stanzas. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain.
On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share.
There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted.
On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others.
On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal.
So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. And we continue on page 121 and 120 for the lighting of our Shabbat candles with a reading first.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their bright reminders of the generation of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you very much, Lilia. We will be turning to page 138 and 139 for the singing of L'cha Dodi, this gift of the mystics in Sfat that would go out into the fields to welcome the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat queen. They dress all in white. And they gave us this beautiful song. We will be singing, as usual, stanzas 1 to 5 and 9, and just before 9, if it's comfortable to do so, I invite you to rise and to face the door that all of us came in, as we will sort of metaphorically welcome the Shabbat Queen, the Shabbat Bride, into not only our sanctuary tonight, but into our hearts and souls as well.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ברכה, כי היא מקולך ברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה מחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורד ומיורי, אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני הליך נקרא. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. מוהים בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וסהולה, תוך אמוני סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We continue on page 140 with the singing of Mizmor Shir, Psalm 92, which is the Psalm for Shabbat.
מזמור שיר, שיר ליום השבת. 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 מה גדלו מעשיך הים, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מה גדלו מעשיך הים, מעשיך הים, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך.
We turn to page 144 for the Chati Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
וילמד דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילם ינקוד ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We find the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, on page 146. If it's comfortable to do so, please rise.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Please be seated. And we continue on page 148 with the Ma'ariv Aravim. And before we read this, maybe we'll do it in the English. We haven't done that for a long time. I invite you to think about what it is in the natural world that surprises you when you become aware of it. Let's read together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-ma'ariv aravim. Page 150, we praise God for the gift of the Torah.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shochbeinu u'vekumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mi חבטך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
אוהב עמו ישראל. שמו ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד, מלכותו לעולם, לעולם ועד.
Please join us in chanting the Ve'ahavta, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And we turn to page 646 for the Michamocha and Miriam song, as Miriam led all the women in dancing and rejoicing. 646.
Miriam's song. Yeah.
Miriam song, 646. That if you feel like dancing in the aisles, if you feel like dancing at your seat, please do so.
This is your moment.
This is the rejoicing, the joy that's supposed to be expressed.
Dancing with their timbrels, followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced like all night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was once we sang our history. With every thread and every strand she grafted to her delight. A woman touched with spirits, she turns her swords alight. She soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. voice in song, sang with praise and might. We just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing as all night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing as all night long.
And after all that dancing, they had to go to sleep at some point in time during the night, and I can imagine them saying the Hashkivenu prayer. We turn back to page 161, the reading at the top of the page. Let's read together.
Let
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 164 with the Amidah. Again, if it's comfortable to do so, please rise.
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב ומושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדעו מהלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחייך המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue the Amidah silently to page 178, and feel free to be seated when you are ready.
ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment for silent reflection, and then we'll continue on page 180. It's at this time in our service where we offer a prayer for healing, a mishaberak, for those in need of healing of the body, the mind, or the spirit. And we mention names from both Kleinert Avenue and Jefferson Highway locations. So on the Shabbat, we've been asked to mention the following names: Joy Lewis, Ted Laborde, Paulette Pico, Robin Mayer, Lucy Silva, Christine Weil, Minabat Yentl, Mordechai Bendina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Fredel Tamara Bat Liba Bela, Menucha Pesa Bat Charni Umoshe, Yosef Ben Fega, and Gretchen Haynes. Are there any additional names that you would like to mention at this time? Thank you.
Storm Matthews.
Michael Waxman. We also think of those names perhaps we chose not to mention aloud, but keep in our hearts. And I think we are particularly mindful of all of the first responders and all of those that are in the related healthcare fields who have been working so hard this last 18 months. They were working hard before COVID, so you can imagine even more so. And they need our prayers for strength as well. So as we join together in the middle of page 371, we pray for a healing of the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So our reading, our Torah reading this week, Vayera, is rich and deep and full of human drama, with no fewer than 5 separate narratives. It opens with Abraham sitting at the entrance of his tent at the hottest time of the day, still recuperating from his recent circumcision. We read how Abraham and Sarah graciously open their home to 3 strangers who are passing by. Upon seeing the 3 men, we are told Abraham rushes to greet them. He offers to bring them water to drink and water to wash their feet with. He invites them to rest under the shade of a tree and to bring them a small morsel to eat. In the meantime, Sarah prepares a feast for them from the finest of ingredients, cakes and meat and sweet milk. This was before the laws of kashrut were given at Sinai. Abraham and Sarah make sure that all of their visitors' needs have been met. Abraham and Sarah's hospitality is legendary. Midrash, our rabbinic stories, teaches us that Abraham was at his tent's entrance because he was actively seeking visitors. And other legends say that Abraham's tent was open on all 4 sides so that he could see visitors coming from any direction. Abraham and Sarah are wonderful role models for the Jewish notion of hospitality. In Hebrew, hachnasat orchim. Hospitality is considered one of our most special mitzvot, one of our central values. The Talmud considers hospitality such a great mitzvah that it is considered even more important than study or prayer. And when the rabbis ask why the prophet Micah is included among those who will live for eternity, we learn that it is because he shared bread with those passing by his home. The mitzvah of hospitality is often a lost art in our modern world. Many social commentators have talked about how we have depersonalized so much in our communities. Rabbi Bradley Artson writes, "We turn to computer services for dating and discreet professionals to worry about death. We expect our schools, not our families, to instill moral values and build character in our children, and our rabbis, cantors, and catering companies to fulfill the spiritual roles the community, our neighbors, our friends used to perform. Even before COVID, we began using drive-through windows at the bank, at the cleaners, at Starbucks and CC's, and the lumberyard. I heard on the radio news not too long ago that there is even a law firm with a drive-through window. We rely on soup kitchens to feed the hungry and shelters to house the homeless. We use welcome wagons to greet newcomers. We need to bring hospitality back into our community life, into our homes, and into our synagogues. The welcome section of our prayer book includes the following reading by Sidney Greenberg that I often read. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Pretty high standards, but necessary ones, and totally in line with the standards of hospitality, the good welcome set by Abraham and Sarah. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, the president of the URJ, sets the standard even higher. He challenges our congregations to be places of audacious hospitality. What does he mean by this? It's not just about being warm and friendly. Rather, it's a transformational Jewish practice, one that stretches us into the people, into the communities, into the movement that we were meant to be. It's not about erasing boundaries. It's about removing barriers. It's about welcoming and bringing in those who are on the margins, interfaith families, the 10 to 20% of Jews who are Jews of color, the LGBTQ community, Jews with disabilities, the alienated and disinterested, young adults, and those who are already members but are on the congregation's periphery. It's about finding ways to bring a deep and compelling Judaism to every one of us. It's about offering opportunities for Jews and the non-Jews in our communities to fall in love with Judaism. As we inch closer to the unification of the two legacy congregations in Baton Rouge, it is even more critical for the doors of our synagogue buildings to be truly open to all who enter. We need to be truly open to all who enter. We need to open our hearts to one another in friendship and compassion. We need to get to know each other's stories, to know where each of us comes from, to know the names of one another's family members. We need to know what each other is passionate about. We need to be able to give each other the benefit of the doubt and to let go of grudges. The Torah provides us with so many details about how Abraham and Sarah took care of their guests. And such detail is unusual for the Torah. I think it does this as a lesson to each of us about the importance of the details. Creating welcoming environments, ones with audacious hospitality in our synagogue buildings, is about paying attention to the details, paying attention to how comfortable our members and guests feel. May our synagogue buildings be safe havens of love, warmth, acceptance, and nurturance. May they be places where guest and stranger alike find welcome and friendship. May they be places where we stop and truly listen to one another. May our encounters with one another be filled with depth and meaning, with kindness, the beauty of holiness, and the warmth of love. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will.
Amen.
Amen. So we're now going to turn back to our prayer books for the Aleinu, which we can find starting on the bottom of page 586, and then 88, and then 91. And if there is anybody under the age of 13 who would like to help us open the ark doors, you know we can't do it alone. We need the strength of youth. Feel free to come on up. And if it's comfortable to do so, please rise as we open the ark doors.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו בגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל העולם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נותן שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושבי קרוב השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו וגודל מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
And I loved your interpretive dance, Tessa. Beautiful. You gonna help John close the other side?
Close it.
Get the other door.
Close the other side? Please be seated. We're looking at the future. And that's a joy. We turn to page 593 as we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We find the Kaddish on page 598. On this Shabbat, we mention the names of Fred Cantor, Mimi Grossman, and Elizabeth Saxey, as well as the yahrzeits for Saul Brooks and Lena Cantor. And we also mention the recent death this week of Charlene Marshall, who is the stepmother of our office manager, Melissa McKee. And we also are in the period of Shana up to 1 year for Wallace Dunham, Michael Carpenter, Jimmy Brownleader, Mark Cohn, Lorraine Beverly Sclaver, Judy Waxman, Tibor Perzé, Paul Hussman, Herbert Barton, and Margaret Winkler. We are also observing yahrzeits this week for Nathan Kalish, Julia Weintraub, Haya Rosa, Molly Goldich. Is also the first anniversary of the death of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, and it's also the third anniversary of the shootings at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. Are there any additional names to be added to the Kaddish list? Thank you.
Yahrzeit for Penina Margulies and Theodore Herzl Ted Tomaszewski.
We also think of those who died this past year from COVID, and we are also mindful of those who died during the Holocaust at this time, who may not have anyone to say the Kaddish for them. Zikronam Livracha, may each of their memories be for a blessing, as we now join as a congregation to support the mourners among us. And please either remain seated or stand according to your tradition.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, וילמד דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחי יכון ויום יכון, וחי בכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and together we say, Amen. And please be seated. I'll share some announcements with you. Obviously, on Sunday, we have a very special event that is co-sponsored by Kleinert and Jefferson Highway. And we will be welcoming Larry Brook from Southern Jewish Life magazine and Israel Insight, also he's the editor of. He will present The More Things Stay the Same, the More They Change, understanding 2021's version of anti-Semitism. It will be 3 o'clock on Sunday, and you have a choice of in person or on Zoom as well. My understanding is that the Zoom will not be interactive in terms of everybody seeing you on Zoom or being able to ask questions. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, but you can hear him and you can watch him. And my understanding is that he does not have a PowerPoint, and so either one, whatever you feel more comfortable with. There will be very, very light refreshments as well if you're in person. And today was the deadline to sign up if you needed babysitting. So hopefully you already did sign up if you need a babysitter. Not for yourself, but for your young people. Tomorrow morning, as usual, Torah study is at 9:30, followed by Shachrit services at 10:30. And I will say that it's really, really important to look at your announcements, your weekly announcements, and the bulletin as well, but especially the weekly announcements, because as we are getting closer to the unification of the two congregations, we're looking at the pattern of services in November and December are going to be, probably are going to be a little mixed up. And I don't mean that we're crazy, but they're going to be changing where we're doing services, how we're doing services, and depending on how the three boards vote, we may have all services on Friday night at 6 o'clock. So there's just, you don't have to try to figure out what time and where, just to sort of simplify it and unify those things as well. But do look at your Thursday announcements. If for some reason you're not getting them, please let us know, and I can send you on. Also, maybe look in your spam folder, because sometimes they go there. But do pay attention to those Thursday emails. That really is critical. Next Shabbat will be a shared Shabbat service, both Friday night and Shabbat morning, and they will both be over at Kleinert Avenue. 6 p.m. for Erev Shabbat, and 10 o'clock for the Shabbat morning, which is a combination of service and Torah study all in one time frame. And I think services actually start at 10:30, but 10 o'clock is kind of schmooze time. Also, a reminder to save the date for November 7th, 1:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon, for the Global Day of Jewish Learning. There are thousands of people all over the globe that are studying together on November 7th. The theme this year is the bonds between us, which is even a very, very relevant theme given the unification of the two congregations. So they didn't choose it because of us, but I think it will be particularly important and enjoyable to study together. And that's all I have for announcements. Is there anything else that needs to be announced? Okay, good. Our closing song tonight is Gesher Tsar Ma'od, that can be found on page 643. The entire world is but a narrow bridge. The most important thing is not to be afraid. And you actually have road signs in Israel that say,
Sim lev, Gesher Tsar.
So it's not just a song.
Kol haolam kulo Gesher Tsar me'od, Gesher Tsar me'od, Gesher Tsar me'od, Kol haolam kulo Gesher Tsar me'od, Gesher Tsar me'od, Gesher Tsar me'od, ve'ha'ikar, ve'ha'ikar, lo lefachid, lo lefachid kal, ve'ha'ikar, כלל, והעיקר, והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and everybody kind of
Shabbat
wish each
Shalom.
other Shabbat Shalom across the room and wave to each other.
Thank you, Zach.
And many, many thanks to Lilia and Zach and Miss Tessa for helping us with Shabbat services. And thank you to John as well.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Thank you for being here tonight.
Look at all that glitter. You're leaving glitter everywhere.
Muchas gracias, Tessa. Oh, gracias.
Whoa!
Gracias
Bingo.
para abrazos. There is nothing as good as getting a hug from a dear
They had to escape Crystal now. I mean, what would he think, look, of all this? And it wasn't bad in Europe too, even now.
nodded at me. And, yeah, just, I worked for Kabbalat my senior year. Yeah. And one of my good friends was the president of Kabbalat. And so I would go, she was conservative, and so she didn't want to attend the more reformed services, so she held her own conservative services. So I would attend just to kind of support her.
On campus.
The building is slightly off campus, be